The following is a special presentation from 7 News.
Daddy, where's Mom? What's she stopping for?
The chaos of a fire burning out of control.
Here.
Oh my gosh.
154, I'm in trouble. I'm stuck in my vehicle.
Zuma!
It's okay.
Panic, concern, and confusion.
Is there any fire around you right now?
Daddy.
Oh yeah, there's fire all around me.
As a prescribed burn ignited by the state
Our neighbor's house is burning.
explodes into a wildfire.
We're out.
What were people thinking when they made that decision?
Along the way, major mistakes, a burn plan with problems,
How can the Forest Service follow and exceed the burn plan and violate it at the same time?
Jefferson County 911, where's your emergency?
communication breakdowns,
Looks like you got that evacuation notice in error, so you can disregard it.
and for some,
This is Sam Lucas.
the message to run,
You know, we've got 79-mile-an-hour winds up here, and they got a control burn.
coming too late or not at all.
Blowing smoke right over my house.
In the end, 3 people would die,
Look around, and
22 homes destroyed.
somebody has to be responsible for this.
Only 7 News asking the tough questions,
Who's been held accountable for the Lower North Fork fire?
looking for answers,
Did they follow that burn plan?
investigating the fire.
It started as an ordinary prescribed burn, only 50 acres designed to consume what could be fuel for other fires.
However, that innocent burn in a matter of minutes turned deadly. And in the days and hours leading up to the Lower North Fork fire, mistakes and problems plagued everyone, from state forest employees to emergency responders.
7 News reporters Amanda Cost and Marshall Zellinger take us to where it all started.
It's here, where Ann and Scott Apple lived for 22 years. Now all that's left is charred rubble.
It's where Ann was on Monday, March 26, when the Lower North Fork fire roared up this mountainside. It's where she saw smoke coming from down below 4 days earlier, when she snapped this photo.
The smoke was coming from a Colorado State Forest Service prescribed burn, started on Thursday, March 22nd. 4 days later, it would become the Lower North Fork fire and take Ann Apple's life.
When you talk about losing everything, we did.
Just 5 minutes after Ann Apple called 911, firefighters down at the scene were already talking possible evacuations.
But 2 hours, 18 minutes would pass before the order was made. Those up here on the ridge, unable to see the smoke, they were running out of time.
Jefferson County 911, where's your emergency? Where is the fire? It's south of Critchell, off of Kester Road. It's all south of you, off of Pleasant Park Road.
Oh my God, it's headed this way.
I don't know the direction of the fire.
Dispatchers had no clue where the fire was going.
This thing is off to the races.
30 to 50 miles per hour, headed for homes. Firefighters battled delays from the start, lost, looking for the fire, unsure how to get there.
Still unable to locate the access road.
On scene, scattered communication.
Right now, we're talking out here, and we don't have anybody that's going to kind of keep track of what's going on.
Flames were only moving faster. Escape, the only option, but the call to evacuate was delayed. Or never received at all.
Hello, this is 911. What are you reporting?
Please, we have fire up here at Kester Road, North Trail Circle.
Okay, yes, you guys are in an evacuation area. I need everybody to get out.
But you have to come now. We have a lot of fire.
Oh, no, we're there, ma'am. We're fighting that fire.
Fire crews were still struggling to mobilize.
If the resources aren't starting to get distributed, you know, we may start losing a whole lot of houses on the end of the road. 612, we're losing structures.
Andy Hoover watched his own home burn.
I'm in my driveway. The fire has burned through. My house may be burning. Yes, it is. God damn it.
That's houses burn right there.
Less than an hour before he recorded this video, Doug Gulick was doing the same thing from his porch with his camera pointed to the sky.
That is frickin' ominous.
Doug's family loaded into 2 cars when the ashes started raining down. Their mother, Kim, was alone and leading the way out of the drive. Doug and the children were close behind. He handed the video camera to his son right before they turned the corner.
Daddy.
Their escape was guided by taillights momentarily turned brake lights when Kim considered turning around.
Where's Mom? What's she stopping for?
They had no time to stop. What sounded like a freight train was closing in.
Down there. It's down there now.
The sparks kept flying like tracers, red, orange, then the first hint of clear sky.
Jesus Christ.
It was just enough to see what was up ahead. On the right, mailboxes on the left.
Right here, right here.
Oh my gosh. Zuma!
It's okay. We're out.
A wall of fire, their freedom. Both came the moment they passed the road leading to Ann Apple's drive. As night set, Sam and Linda Lucas were dead. Ann Apple missing.
The confusion and chaos from day one leading to anger and outrage on day two. Why a meltdown in communications? And why the confusion with the orders to evacuate? Coming up, we investigate the problems and get answers.
They were already called.
We're following 3 breaking news stories right now. A wildfire out of control just west of Colorado Springs. At least 3,600 acres burned. 6,000 people out of their homes, and there is no containment of that fire. Breaking news from the High Park fire in Larimer County. Devastating news tonight as another 57 homes have been destroyed by that fire. Just now more than 83,000 acres. And a third breaking story we're following. A shooting at Denver City Park tonight. An officer shot and killed at the Jazz in the Park concert. Only on 7 News at Denver Health a little over an hour ago, you see an ambulance escorted by nearly a dozen cop cars as that officer was rushed to the hospital. 7 News reporter Amanda Koss live at City Park. And Amanda, police do have someone in custody.
They have a few people in custody right now, but no suspects, Mike. Jazz in the Park turned into an active crime scene, one that's still happening behind me right now. You can see the lights flashing, the mobile crime scene unit here on the site. Right now, we're on the north side of City Park to give you an idea of where we are, close to the pavilion. Now, this all started close to 8 o'clock. During Jazz in the Park, there was some sort of a fight. Now, Denver police officers went in to try and break up that fight. That's when shots were fired. A female officer was hit in the head with a shot. Now, she was transported to Denver Health, where she was pronounced dead there. Now, we spoke with witnesses and Denver police shortly after this. Let's hear what they had to say.
A news alert, the other big story we're following. 10 active fires tonight burning across our state. Thousands of homes in danger. Residents remain evacuated. Tonight we have live team coverage of Colorado burning. We're in Fort Collins and Colorado Springs following the very latest on the High Park and Waldo Creek fire. We start with my co-anchor Ann Trujillo live in the Springs, and then finally some good news for residents there tonight.
That's exactly right, Mike. The 5,000 people who were evacuated from the Manitou Springs area got the good news tonight. The evacuation order lifted just about 8 o'clock tonight. Now, there are still 6,000 people evacuated tonight. Those include the Cedar Heights gated community. That's near Highway 24 and Manitou Avenue. Also, several evacuations on the west side of Colorado Springs. Pre-evacuation notices also out to people living south of Woodland Park. And tonight, Highway 24 remains closed between 31st Street and Colorado Springs to Woodland Park.
This is dry, hot weather. Obviously, the wind's going to pick up.
And that is the governor stopping by the command center of the Waldo Canyon fire this morning. His main concern, all the homes in these fire areas, adding Colorado has seen conditions like this before.
As a frame of reference, in 2002, when we had that serious drought, and you remember the Hayman fire, we had, at the time of the Hayman fire, we had 8 fires. So this isn't something we haven't seen before. We're not going to.
Now, Governor Hickenlooper added the government has been working as fast as it can to get the extra resources needed on this fire. Of course, there is sort of a common thread, really, to all of these fires burning in Colorado. That's the emotional roller coaster that these evacuees are having to deal with. This Colorado Springs community, no exception. 7 News reporter Mark Stewart is out here in Colorado Springs with me. And Mark, some of these folks got the news at, well, while they were sleeping, actually.
And it's been a very tough 24 hours. Some people getting the order to leave at 3:30 this morning. At the height of all of this, 11,000 people evacuated.
Struggling to make sense of a school year tragedy. 9 students dead, all tied to drugs.
7 News reporter Russell Haythorne found the rampant abuse of prescription drugs escalating to ecstasy, LSD, even heroin, and in a community where you might least expect it.
In Denver's Civic Center Park, no one hides it. Drug abuse is right out in the open. Here, on the other hand, it's something that lives in the shadows.
He did what they call a speedball. It's everywhere. It's heroin, it's cocaine, it's ketamine, it's all over.
Right in the Douglas County homes of moms like Chris Lazarus and Laura Coolyard.
He didn't have to say anything.
Laura and her husband were on vacation in Toronto last August when their son, Chris, died from drug use.
2 Ontario provincial police officers barged into our cottage, and I knew. Sorry.
It is a very dark side to these otherwise nice, affluent communities. 9 documented teenage deaths in Douglas County this school year alone.
We found out in early November that he had been using some hard drugs for about a month.
Less than 2 months later, her 18-year-old son, Matthew, would be dead.
I walked in and I thought he was sleeping. I don't remember much. I remember screaming.
Both of these boys died at home, experimenting with some of the most dangerous drugs imaginable.
Douglas County seems to have this feeling that we are above problems like heroin.
But we discovered it's not. Just ask the high school kids themselves.
I started when I was a freshman.
Weed, X, and Coke once. Marijuana, ecstasy, Coke, acid. It's super easy to get drugs. I don't think they realize how big it is.
How bad is the problem in Douglas County?
You know, I never feel like it's a losing battle.
But Douglas County Student Wellness Coordinator Leslie Clemenson says it's getting worse.
The progression used to be, you know, the cigarettes, and then you go to the alcohol and maybe the marijuana, and somewhere along the lines most of the kids had some reason to stop.
At a Castleview High Drug Awareness Assembly, Clemenson explained the thrill of trying drugs morphs into addiction much quicker these days.
That opiate addiction kicks in, especially with the painkillers, and then they go to a heroin market, which is much cheaper. The drugs of now are not your drugs of even ago.
For example, THC is the drug in marijuana that makes you high. Compared to a few decades ago, THC levels can now be as much as 30 times higher.
There's all kinds of nasty things that people are mixing in.
Matt Lazarus may have been a victim of that.
What your body took today can kill you tomorrow.
5 months after her son's death, Chris hasn't changed Matt's room. His bed adorned with letters, a special message board, photos.
I touch nothing. His closet is... I haven't done anything.
Both Matt and Chris Couillard loved music. Talented musicians at a young age, and both moms knew their sons were out of control when their prized instruments went missing.
And I'd ask him where things were, and there was always an excuse.
Matt had dinner with his family that night in January, then went up to his room, dropped a speedball, and died all alone. An accidental overdose from a syringe full of cocaine and heroin. Chris was also at home when he died, but with friends.
Decided that because the parents were out of town, this would be a safe time to maybe all sit together and drop LSD.
Shortly after, Chris started hallucinating, then got violent.
Out of nowhere, he just completely started losing it.
Chris's friends opted not to call 911, but instead held him down on this basement couch, a well-meaning act that turned fatal when his lungs collapsed.
He was on the floor, non-responsive. I don't think any of the kids that were here that day have anything but great regret and remorse for not calling 911.
I definitely blame myself for everything.
The issue is drugs are easy to come by.
The truth is that our kids have access.
Oh, you go to the bathroom, you can get whatever you want.
Some kids change and stop using after seeing the destruction in their friends.
I completely changed, and people always tell me that.
But not all do. So these two moms are determined to expose Douglas County's deep, dark secret.
If you have the knowledge, you might not need it for your own child. You might need it for somebody else's.
If you catch them doing drugs in their bedroom, all alone, with nobody else around, you have a serious problem.
In Castle Rock,
They tried and they died.
Russell Haythorne, 7 News.
The Douglas County School District now conducts regular education seminars, even sponsors interventions if necessary.
And Clemenson says her counterparts in Cherry Creek, Jefferson County, Arapahoe County, they are all also dealing with the same issue.
7 News coverage of the winter blast continues. The state getting hammered by this storm. Here's a live look where I-70 is closed at Air Park all the way to Goodland, Kansas. We'll have a report from there in about 2 minutes.
Well, the plows are out in force, and in some places they are having trouble keeping up with this mess. An update on just how bad and how it's going on the roads. Not bad in all places. We'll get an update from Jason Luber in about 2 minutes.
Nearly 600 flights canceled at DIA. We're going to check if things are getting any better out there. A live report from there in about 4 minutes.
Now, this winter blast is still in full swing all over the state. Some places in Colorado dealing with more than 2 feet of snow. So we are extending our coverage to help you get through this storm.
We have team coverage of the storm with Matt Makins tracking the storm in the Weather Center. Tyler Lopez out along I-70. Lance Hernandez is at DIA. And Marshall Zellinger is out monitoring the driving conditions in Denver. Let's begin with Matt. Is it starting to stop yet?
It's starting to stop, but it's going to take several hours. It'll be tomorrow morning before all of the snow is completely done. Here's a live radar picture. Heaviest snow still along the Front Range along I-25 from about Monument Hill all the way to the north, close to Fort Collins, not necessarily in Fort Collins. And then another heavy band just out closer to Kansas. And Jason's going to talk about some road closures out in that direction. Let me bring you into the northeastern plains. Heavy snowfall from Ray down to Burlington right now, closer to Denver. We have last chance to Denver with some heavier snow, even some light snow around Fort Collins into the south of Greeley. But there's still some heavy bands of snow throughout the metro area. Let me point one out to you. The darker blue from Erie and Boulder all the way down to the south along 36 right through Thornton, through downtown Denver, down to the south along Parker. That's the toll road, E470 right there. So still some heavy lines of snow, and this is actually moving towards the foothills. We still have that upslope moving, so we are still going to be counting on maybe another 1 to 2 inches of snowfall down to the south. So Inglewood, Littleton, Highlands Ranch, Laviers, Outdoors, Kent Carl, even Tinytown. A couple more inches are going to be possible throughout the next couple of hours. And again, on the Broadview, this is the area of snow. It will slowly be working off into Kansas and Nebraska over the next 12 hours, and then we'll be quieter by tomorrow. But the weather concern won't stop there. We're going to blow this snow around. So even if it doesn't snow a lot in addition to what we have, it's going to just blow around what we already do have. 31-mile-per-hour wind gusts in Greeley, 14-mile-an-hour at Littleton, Parker at 26. So could be a little bit frustrating at times if you shovel off your sidewalk and then it gets wind blown back over. But for the most part, we will be improving throughout this weekend. Here's some of the viewer snowfall totals we've received. Black Hawk, most of the totals were 28. We had one as high as 48 inches up there. Otherwise, Littleton 10, Boulder at 12. Officially in Denver through about noon, 8 inches so far. We'll add just a little bit more than that. Doesn't look like the biggest February snow ever, but certainly one of the top 10 anyways. Snowfall amounts right into the metro area. Golden, 11 inches. Evergreen, 14. Conifer, 28 inches. Denver, as I said, at 8. A little bit less than Bennett, but Aurora and Parker right around 9 to 10 inches to be shoveling off this afternoon and this evening. Throughout the weekend, our focus will be on some cold temperatures, but then we are already tracking yet another 4-letter word, another snow, and that's going to be up.
Another one?
Another one.
Oh.
We'll be talking about how big this one could be coming up in a few minutes.
All right, Matt, thank you.
Sounds good. We have breaking news right now to tell you about the closure of I-70 through the Eastern Plains has now been extended. In just the past 15 minutes, it was shut down. This is I-70 from Goodland, Kansas west. I-70 has already been shut down in both directions between Air Park and Lyman all day, and it may be tomorrow morning before conditions get any better for it to reopen.
7 News reporter Tyler Lopez has been keeping tabs on the impact of all this since early this morning. What's it like now, Tyler?
You know, I'd like to tell you that things have improved since 8 o'clock in the morning. That wouldn't be true. It's absolutely horrible as it has been all day. Take a look. This is where it's closed. You can see the trucks are being told to get off the road. A lot of them just carefully turning left and going right back towards Denver because the winds are so bad, it is simply still unsafe. Even with the help of a lead blocker from CDOT, I-70 is both snowpacked.
5 years that I've been out here, it's probably definitely one of the worst.
And covered with dangerous drifts of wind-blown snow.
Because we can plow it if it was just snow, but with the wind, it covers it right back, and it's a long time before we win the battle.
The winds have been the constant on the Eastern Plains, forcing east and westbound closures of I-70 the entire day.
Driving conditions are poor, but if you're cautious and careful, it's not a problem.
Now as nightfall approaches, this slush will become another hazard, potentially freezing.
There is at least, I would say, a quarter to half an inch of ice in some spots where you could see the flows that just gone by.
That and those ever-present winds make the reopening of this crucial east-west interstate unlikely tonight.
So I would say probably Sunday would be my estimate, but
yeah, That's the way to view it. I mean, it's very obvious. 3 different sources from CDOT telling me in the last 90 minutes that unless this weather changes, there's just no way they can reopen I-70. Right now, we've got conflicting information on what it's going to mean today. Right now, I-70 is closed eastbound from here to Lyman, but we checked, and KDOT, the Kansas Department of Transportation, is saying that westbound, they've got I-70 closed from Goodland, Kansas to Colorado. Based on what we're seeing here, would not surprise me during the course of our extended coverage if CDOT and KDOT get together and decide, look, let's close it here at Air Park all the way to Kansas in both directions, because conditions simply have not improved at all. Here's a look at the roadway. Now, this is the on-ramp. As you get off of I-70, if you are a resident, you can continue on towards the Deer Trail area. This has been hit by CDOT plows 5 or 6 different times today. They've used ice slicer. It's still icy. It's still covered in snow, and that's because the winds will not stop, guys.
Yeah, that blowing snow is really what is treacherous out there once you plow those roads. Thank you, Tyler. We'll check back.
Kind of discouraging out there, but there's some good news at DIA. We just learned they don't expect any more flights to be canceled because of the storm.
Now, even so, about 600 flights were canceled up until now, and 7 News reporter Lance Hernandez got an up-close look at efforts to keep the airport open. Lance?
And we saw a bunch of snow melters, brushes and plows in operation up close on the runways today. DIA's big deal is trying to get all these passengers where they're going safely, and to that end, their number one priority is keeping the north-south runways open. Now, crews periodically shut one of them down for snow removal. That's only about a 15-minute period. Then it's back open for business.
When it snows like this and when it's windy like this, everything slows down. We've got to slow everything down to be safe.
DIA Field Maintenance Director Ron Morin says they've got 106 pieces of equipment on the airfield. Among them, this giant snow melter that eats 600 tons of snow an hour. We rode along as a fleet of plows and sweepers cleared one of the runways.
See what I'm saying about whiteout conditions? You don't know where you're at.
No. Morin says they get about 15 minutes to clear each runway and can only do so after communicating with the FAA, TRACON, operations and maintenance.
This is a well choreographed, coordinated team effort.
We noticed that the runways are in better shape than I-70. Morin says there's a reason for that.
So aircraft can hit that pavement or hit that runway and brake safely without sliding off a runway.
Passengers waiting patiently for their flights are grateful.
I'm trying to get home desperately, trying to make a Super Bowl party that I have planned and paid for. You know, ultimately nobody can control the weather, so you just have to keep a positive attitude and hope for the best.
Now, security lines are a little bit longer now than they've been all day long here at DIA, but there's still not much of a wait there. The big wait, of course, is for the planes that some of the airlines are holding off until this big winter storm is over. Live at DIA, Lance Hernandez, 7 News.
From 7 News, this is a Call 7 Investigators special presentation. Tonight, a Call 7 Investigators special presentation. A look at stories that dig deeper, ask the tough questions, and hold government officials accountable. We will show you stories that expose millions of tax dollars spent with little oversight.
What kind of use of your tax dollars is that?
That waste.
Stories that uncover innocent people trapped in the legal system.
Going to your wife to tell her that you've been subpoenaed for downloading a gay porn. Probably not a conversation you want to have on a Wednesday night.
And stories that reveal public safety compromised for the profit of government officials.
She told me that I basically probably need to stay out of this because this is going to be very political.
And now, here are the Call 7 investigators.
Good evening, I'm John Ferrugia. For the past several months, I, along with Call 7 investigators Teresa Marchetta and Kelly Raybon, have been researching stories on government corruption, abuses, and waste of taxpayer money.
And tonight we're going to share some of those stories with you and let you know what's changed since they first aired. Now, our first story focuses on a $10.5 million federal grant awarded to the Tri-County Health Department to fight obesity. And Kelly, you found there's very little to show for that money.
Only on 7 News, a surgeon is charged by the state medical board with harming 17 Colorado patients. One even died.
And now Call 7 investigator John Ferrugia has tracked that doctor to one of the nation's most prestigious hospitals. And John, she's there after apparently leaving yet more damaged patients in her wake.
That's right, Ann. Dr. Denise Crude, a neurosurgeon, committed serious errors in the operating room, even operating on the wrong side of a patient's brain. But the state medical board in Colorado never disciplined her. Instead, we found a system that allowed her to give up her Colorado license and simply move on to operate on other patients.
I couldn't move my right foot,
and I couldn't feel my right foot, and I didn't go in for a right-sided surgery. So that's when I knew something was wrong.
Mary Friday of Rockford, Illinois struggles to walk because she can't control her right foot, and she's in constant pain. She and the Illinois Medical Board charge it's because Dr. Denise Crute operated on the wrong side of her spine and caused severe and permanent nerve damage.
This has caused me a great deal of pain, more pain than I could tolerate being functional. You know, I was very spontaneous with my life and enjoyed life to its fullest. I can't be the mom that I was before and engaged with my daughter with all the activities that we did together. You know, and I'm not the wife to my husband that I was. It broke me emotionally.
Mary Friday is one of 4 patients of Dr. Denise Crute in Illinois who are suing because of surgical mistakes. But Mary Friday is asking whether her suffering could have been prevented. Our investigation found that Rockford wasn't the first place that Dr. Crute was accused of making serious medical errors.
And they told me that if it had been treated, when they'd found it out, he would have been fine.
More than a decade ago, Crute worked in Colorado, where state medical board records show she failed to treat an obvious aneurysm, and Michael Mendenhall's brother Dennis died.
He wasn't there. He was a vegetable. All I know is he felt pain.
The Colorado Medical Board charged Crute with mistakes involving 17 patients. In a negotiated agreement with the board, she admitted to making errors in Mendenhall's case and 3 others. Documents show Crute operated on the wrong part of the brain or spine, causing significant and permanent injuries. And she walked out of the operating room and went to another hospital while incisions were being made by an assistant on a patient under anesthesia. With those admissions, she gave up her Colorado license and moved to Rockford. Michael Mendenhall is frustrated that Dr. Denise Crute is still practicing.
They should have taken her license and sent her to prison.
But instead?
Instead, they just slap her hands and let her go. Well, that's just wrong. That's just somebody passing a buck.
After admitting harm to patients in Colorado and surrendering her license and moving to Illinois, where she's now accused of more malpractice, the question is, how did she get a job here in New York?
Dr. Crute, I'm with the Denver television station, 7 News in Denver, and I wanted to ask you if you thought it was appropriate.
Crute, her lawyer, and officials at the Illinois hospital where she worked all refused to talk to us. So we tracked down Crute in New York City, where she's now practicing at the prestigious Mount Sinai Medical Center.
You've admitted harm in Colorado, and then you moved to Illinois, and now you've got lawsuits in Illinois.
You just can walk away.
And that is exactly what she did in Colorado after negotiating with the state medical board to let her license lapse and agreeing never to practice here again. That's not a disciplinary action.
It is not, but it is a reportable action.
Marshall Smith is the program director for the Colorado Medical Board. He concedes that, like Colorado, many states have rules that specifically require disciplinary action from another state before a medical license can be denied. Our investigation has found that a voluntary surrender agreement, like that of Dr. Denise Crute, even if it's reported to a national database, means a doctor can still be licensed in other states, and patients are none the wiser. Why wouldn't I surrender my license in Colorado and say, fine, I won't practice here, but now I have no public discipline. I'm going to go to another state where I know I can practice?
I really don't have a good answer for that.
And neither do officials at the Rockford, Illinois hospital who hired her after she left Colorado. Mr. Schertz, I'm John Perugia. Wanted to talk with you, I could, about Dr. Crute.
I'm on my way to a meeting.
We repeatedly ask officials of St. Anthony Hospital, OSF, for an interview. They refused to talk, so we went to Rockford to see them. David Schertz is the hospital CEO. You hired Dr. Crute knowing her record. In fact, there's a media plan that I have here to show you.
Excuse me.
Would you talk to me about Dr. Crute? No. And talk to me about this media plan? What he would not talk about is this draft media plan put together just in case reporters in Illinois found out about Dr. Denise Crute's background. And not surprising, among the most important points, quote, the state of Colorado never suspended or revoked Dr. Crute's medical license. So, both Illinois and New York subsequently issued licenses to Dr. Crute to practice medicine without restrictions. Could you talk to me? But even more troubling is that the plan clearly shows that hospital officials knew the chance they were taking, suggesting a strategy of what not to bring up should they be asked about Croot's record in Colorado. We cannot use the no harm argument, says the document, because one of the 4 patients died. And the last of the 4 cases occurred in 2004, which prevents us from using a these are old cases argument. After the suits began in Illinois, records show St. Anthony's told Croot her contract would not be renewed. These doctors are gaming the system. Of course they're going to come to you and say, here's my license, because they want to practice somewhere else. What's the board's obligation to protect patients all over the country?
The board's primary obligation is to protect the public health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Colorado. That's our mandate.
But what about everybody else?
And we are able to perform that mission for the people of Colorado.
While that is true, it is little consolation to Mary Friday in Illinois, who learned that Dr. Denise Croot has now moved to Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City.
I thought that sounds about right. I thought she's trying to reinvent herself. She's got a license out there. I thought that's what she's doing. She's trying to reinvent herself.
Now, Mount Sinai Hospital officials claim that Croot is not performing surgery, yet in a sworn deposition that we got, Croot says she's in fact operating without restrictions. People running for their lives, trying to escape a terrifying moment no one could imagine.
12:30 this morning, a gunman appeared at the front of one of the theaters in the Century 16 Theater behind me here.
Now, as new details unfold by the minute, victims speak out.
I don't know why I'm around.
And tell us how they escaped with just minutes to spare.
I was just thinking we just gotta get out.
Right now, 7 News is live from every scene with late-breaking details from the Aurora movie theater shooting.
A ball of intense flames.
And if you think we're angry, we sure as hell are angry.
Crews detonating truckloads of explosives found inside the suspect's apartment.
Make no mistake, this apartment was designed to kill whoever entered it.
As crews disarm a heavily booby-trapped apartment with no injuries.
Compassion. Compassion to the enemies too.
Now it's time for a community to start to heal.
And they are indeed starting to heal. Andrew Heel along with Mike Landis here in Aurora. One of the first signs that we are seeing is cars actually being moved from that parking lot of the movie theater. Also, people are now close to being able to remove their personal belongings that were left inside that theater complex.
We have a lot to tell you about a
The Call 7 investigators are breaking new information in the movie theater tragedy. We are now uncovering the psychiatrist treating the accused gunman, James Holmes, was so concerned about his behavior, she notified others at the university. Call 7 investigator John Ferrugia is live.
John, you learned this concern came 6 weeks before the shooting.
That's right, Mike. As you know, there are federal, state, and local agencies working this case, and sources familiar with the investigation say that it was in the first 10 days of June that Dr. Lynn Fenton, the psychiatrist treating James Holmes, well, she contacted the team concerned that he could potentially harm others. In the wake of the July 20th theater killings, investigators soon learned, and court documents confirmed, that James Holmes had been treated by a CU psychiatrist for weeks prior to his dropping out of the University of Colorado's neuroscience PhD program. Multiple sources tell Call 7 investigators that Holmes told the psychiatrist, Dr. Lynn Fenton, something so disturbing that she notified several members of the university's Behavioral Evaluation and Threat Assessment, or BETA team, of a potential danger. According to our sources and the university website, the so-called BETA team has staff members from various departments, including the Counseling Center, Legal Counsel, Student Life Office, Campus Police, and Student Services. These members have expertise to, quote, provide support and information and referrals to those dealing with threatening or disruptive situations. According to ABC News, Dr. Lynn Fenton is one of the experts who helped form the team in 2010. University officials confirm she is a current member of the team and can convene the group in conjunction with the team chairman. Sources tell the Call 7 investigators that Fenton made initial phone calls about engaging the BETA team in the first 10 days of June, but the team never came together because James Holmes, after he failed a preliminary exam 3 days earlier, dropped out of school on June 10th. After that date, CU officials said last week,
7 News truth tracking the candidates' statements tonight, making sure that you know the facts, get them straight. 7 News reporter Marshall Zellinger tracking the debate tonight, and he's live with a spot check on what we heard. Marshall?
Mike, those face-to-face confrontations that Mark referenced led to some healthy debate over what's true and what's false, starting with the cost of filling up at the pump based as it relates to oil and gas production on federal lands.
In the last 4 years, you cut permits and licenses on federal land and federal waters in half.
Not true, Governor Romney.
This is misleading. Permits are being approved just at a lesser rate, not cut in half from where they were. This is data from the Department of Interior, and what we're looking at is this line, the number of drilling permits approved on federal land. I've come over here and I've already done the math. Over the last 3 years, while the president has been in office, there have been more than 12,800 permits approved to drill on federal land.
Breaking news in Democracy 2012, the president keeping his job. This is a live picture from Chicago tonight where supporters are celebrating the re-election of Barack Obama. 7 News projecting he has the electoral votes needed to stay in office. Celebrations also here in Colorado. This is the Democratic headquarters in downtown Denver. 7 News tracking both the local and national results tonight.
Let's get right to the presidential election numbers.
7 News with team coverage from both parties' headquarters right now. 7 News anchor Mitch Jelniker live at the Republican headquarters at Mile High Stadium.
Let's start with 7 News anchor Ana Cabrera in downtown Denver at the Democratic headquarters. Ana, lots of excitement with tonight's results.
Lots of excitement.
Yeah, we're looking at some real trend lines right now, and Kelly's going to start with, on the Republican side, some strength for Romney.
That's right. Let's get right to the numbers. You can see right here in Douglas County, we're looking at 63% for Romney, 35% for Obama. Now, this is with 72% of active voters reporting.
Breaking news, Air Tracker 7 over in Nevada Park, where a body has been found. Westminster police saying they have not confirmed that it is that of 10-year-old Jessica Ridgway.
That announcement only hours after police clear her parents in her disappearance. Both angles breaking tonight. Let's get right to live team coverage with Marshall Zellinger at this Westminster Police Department with the very latest. Marshall?
Well, I'm pleased to announce that today I believe that we have taken a significant step towards justice for Jessica. We have made an arrest in the Jessica Ridgway case.
We've been waiting for this. Might be a good Halloween for the kids around here, because I didn't think anybody'd be out wandering till now.
Justice for Jessica is a process, and this is the beginning of that process.
7 News, the first to bring you news of that arrest today on 7 News at 11.
Police saying the break they wanted in the case came last night, and that is when they say they got a tip that led them to this man, 17-year-old Austin Sigg. Sigg doesn't live too far from the Ridgway home or where a woman was attacked last May near Kettner Lake.
A short time ago, we heard from Jessica's great-grandmother in Kansas City. She's happy there's been an arrest, but she's not sure what to think about the suspect.
I don't think I can look at this person.
We have team coverage of today's developments, crews following this story in Westminster and here at 7 News. And we start with Call 7 investigator John Ferrugia. And John, it was a phone call to police that led them to the door of Austin Sigg's home.
That's right. Police knew it would take only one good call to break this case, and it came from a very unexpected source. It actually came from the 17-year-old student who police say killed Jessica Ridgway. Reports indicate the 17-year-old told his mother something disturbing, and she told him he needed to turn himself in. His mother told the Associated Press her son called police, and at 7:45 Tuesday night, they came to the house, and he was arrested. The Westminster booking sheet makes it clear that Sigg was cooperative with police and waived his rights. That means police could question him extensively about the attempted abduction of a 22-year-old woman at Kettner Lake, as well as the murder of 10-year-old Jessica Ridgway.
Call 7 investigator Teresa Marchetta outside Stanley Lake High School, where Austin Sigg went to school.
And Teresa, you've been speaking with his friends.
That's right, and friends of his, former classmates of Austin Sigg's, tell me, yes, as Lance mentioned, he did like to wear goth clothing. He was into listening to death metal, but they say he was friendly, he was approachable, he was a very helpful guy. And when word of his arrest spread through Stanley Lake today, friends said they never saw it coming. What kind of guy was he? I mean, is he the kind of guy that could murder a little girl?
He's a smart. We never thought, like, it was shocking.
He was the kid that went around school, and like the kids who walked down the hall alone, he would walk with you. He was one of those that always talked to everybody, always said hi to everybody, knew everybody. He was so nice.
When's the last time any of you talked to him or saw him?
I saw him like last week. Yeah, I saw him last week. We didn't think anything would happen.
I'm Mike Nelson. Will follow up on that EAS warning that you just heard. We do have the flash flood warning now for southern sections of the metropolitan area until 2:30
in the morning. We've had reports over portions of northern Douglas County of 3 to 5 inches of rain. Now, the heaviest storms are now lifting slowly to the north into the central part of the Denver area around the Tech Center. Good evening, Mike Nelson back with you again. Now we have a tornado warning that has been issued for the Bomar neighborhood. Let me show you what's going on right now. We're going to zoom in this real close and give you an idea of the area affected by this. So if you are in the vicinity of this area, again, take the typical tornado warning precautions. Basement, if you don't have a basement, interior room or hallway, get away from the windows.
We're following 3 breaking news stories right now. A wildfire out of control just west of Colorado Springs. At least 3,600 acres burned. 6,000 people out of their homes, and there is no containment of that fire. Breaking news from the High Park fire in Larimer County. Devastating news tonight as another 57 homes have been destroyed by that fire. Just now more than 83,000 acres. And a third breaking story we're following. A shooting at Denver City Park tonight. An officer shot and killed at the Jazz in the Park concert. Only on 7 News at Denver Health a little over an hour ago, you see an ambulance escorted by nearly a dozen cop cars as that officer was rushed to the hospital. 7 News reporter Amanda Koss live at City Park. And Amanda, police do have someone in custody.
They have a few people in custody right now, but no suspects, Mike. Jazz in the Park turned into an active crime scene, one that's still happening behind me right now. You can see the lights flashing, the mobile crime scene unit here on the site. Right now, we're on the north side of City Park to give you an idea of where we are, close to the pavilion. Now, this all started close to 8 o'clock. During Jazz in the Park, there was some sort of a fight. Now, Denver police officers went in to try and break up that fight. That's when shots were fired. A female officer was hit in the head with a shot, and she was transported to Denver Health, where she was pronounced dead there. Now, we spoke with witnesses and Denver police shortly after this. Let's hear what they had to say.
We were just sitting here listening to the music, and all of a sudden we saw everybody running, and they were saying that, you know, everybody get down, everybody get down. We first thought it was a fight. Yeah. But everybody was running saying somebody got shot. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we saw the cops everywhere. They said officer got shot.
Officer's family been notified?
Not at this point. This is still very early in the investigation, so please respect that and understand that we have to take time. This just happened. It's very new, very raw, and it's going to take a little bit of time to get it all worked out.
He talks about it being new, being raw. Tears in multiple officers' eyes, along with determination mixed in. We've seen them canvassing this park with flashlights. We have no word as to whether or not there is a weapon in their hands tonight. We know they are investigating this situation right now. Also speaking with multiple people, still looking for more witnesses, Mike, tonight. They're trying to get any information that they can. Nothing solid about anyone being in custody, being called a suspect right now. Again, this is a female Denver police officer dead tonight, killed after being shot in the head here in the park, trying to break up a fight. Officers here mourning, but also trying to find some answers for that officer's family. We'll continue to keep you updated as this develops. Until then, reporting live from City Park, Amanda Kost, 7 News.
A news alert, the other big story we're following. 10 active fires tonight burning across our state. Thousands of homes in danger. Residents remain evacuated. Tonight we have live team coverage of Colorado burning. We're in Fort Collins and Colorado Springs following the very latest on the High Park and Waldo Creek fire. We start with my co-anchor Ann Trujillo live in the Springs, and then finally some good news for residents there tonight.
That's exactly right, Mike. The 5,000 people who were evacuated from the Manitou Springs area got the good news tonight. The evacuation order lifted just about 8 o'clock tonight. Now, there are still 6,000 people evacuated tonight. Those include the Cedar Heights gated community. That's near Highway 24 and Manitou Avenue. Also, several evacuations on the west side of Colorado Springs. Pre-evacuation notices also out to people living south of Woodland Park. And tonight, Highway 24 remains closed between 31st Street and Colorado Springs to Woodland Park.
This is dry, hot weather. Obviously, the wind's going to pick up.
And that is the governor stopping by the command center of the Waldo Canyon fire this morning. His main concern, all the homes in these fire areas, adding Colorado has seen conditions like this before.
As a frame of reference, in 2002, when we had that serious drought, and you remember the Hayman fire, we had, at the time of the Hayman fire, we had 8 fires. So this isn't something we haven't seen before. We're not going to...
Now, Governor Hickenlooper added the government has been working as fast as it can to get the extra resources needed on this fire. Of course, there is sort of a common thread, really, to all of these fires burning in Colorado. That's the emotional roller coaster that these evacuees are having to deal with. This Colorado Springs community, no exception. 7 News reporter Mark Stewart is out here in Colorado Springs with me. And Mark, some of these folks got the news at, well, while they were sleeping, actually.
And it's been a very tough 24 hours. Some people getting the order to leave at 3:30 this morning. At the height of all of this, 11,000 people evacuated. And while that number has been cut in half about, many people still out of their homes. It will be a while before all of this returns back to normal.
Yes, I'm so excited to go home.
It's the text message Lisa Croce had waited all day to receive. After more than 12 hours away from her home, she's now able to return to Manitou Springs.
I'll never take anything for granted.
The Waldo Canyon fire is unlike any other so far this season because it's erupting near very populated areas. At times, this massive fire and smoke is drifting towards the Colorado Springs city limits. Colorado treasures, including the Garden of the Gods, are also at risk. As the fire rages for a second night, those who are fortunate enough to return home wonder if they'll have to leave again, a pattern that's been the norm in other Colorado fires.
It's definitely a concern. Kind of makes you not want to go back just in case you leave the second you get there.
This weekend, we've seen fires in nearly every corner of our state. El Paso County is now being added to the list of nature's might over man.
Yes, it is. It beats mankind by a long shot.
And the U.S. Forest Service wants us to tell you, if you live in this area, you will see flames, you will see smoke from these mountains. You will also see a whole army of aircraft, planes, choppers flying overhead over the next few days. Live in El Paso County tonight, Mark Stewart, 7 News.
All right, Mark, thank you for that. Now, thousands of Colorado Springs residents evacuated tonight from the path of the Waldo Canyon fire. And just earlier today, the Colorado Springs Mayor, Steve Bach, with stern words for people who are ignoring those orders.
I just want to urge people who are asked to evacuate to please comply. If you want to help these firefighters up here on this mountainside, the best thing you can do, folks, is please do what you're asked.
Bach also clearing up questions about who is fighting this fire.
I've got a lot of calls from people saying, Mayor, why are you not up on that mountainside putting out that fire? Well, number one, I'm not very good at that, but more importantly, that's out in the county, and so we need to respect their lead on that.
So the mayor just asking folks to just watch out for one another and just keep people in the loop who might not otherwise stay up on this fire. So, Mike, right now there are 2 evacuation centers, one set up at Summit Elementary School in Divide, the other at Cheyenne Mountain High School. And I guess the good news right now, no structures lost. Mike?
And no lives lost. That's very good. Thank you, Ann, and we'll talk to you again soon. The biggest fire in the state right now, of course, is the High Park fire. Heartbreaking news for Glacier View homeowners tonight. 57 more homes lost this weekend, bringing the number of homes lost during the 16 days of this fire to 248. The acreage has also increased to 83,205. The fire still 45% contained. 7 News reporter Jacqueline Allen talking with some of the evacuees devastated by this news.
A neighborhood destroyed by fire in Glacier View.
We've had good friends that lost their home, and it's difficult.
57 homes gone.
It's just a house, but there's a lot of love that goes into a house.
Mother Nature isn't giving them a break. Heat, wind, and tonight our cameras capture a lightning storm.
Tough day all the way around here.
Fire officials say it could be even worse. A bulldozer line plowed last week helped stop the blaze from destroying hundreds of additional homes.
The toll is very disappointing, very concerning, but it could have been much worse due to the firefighters' efforts.
For evacuees whose homes are still standing, there is gratitude and guilt.
We're pretty sure we have our house and everything, but we know neighbors that have lost their homes, and that's tough.
Even more because they've been warned. Another shift in the wind, and they're back in the danger zone.
We see our insurance company down there. We're going to start asking questions now, which is better to ask them now than when everything may hit. We're still praying for the best, but you kind of prepare for the worst.
Jacqueline says the new incident commander says they did have to divert resources to another nearby fire that started today. They say new start fires are a top priority, but they say they still have plenty of resources to battle the High Park fire. Evacuation still in place for hundreds living on the edge of the High Park burn area. Residents of more than 700 homes in the Glacier Park area are displaced, and 159 homes along Highway 14 east of Hewlett Road remain under evacuation. That includes all of Poudre Park. Thunderstorms up north near the High Park fire this evening, and Mike Nelson joining us from the 24/7 Weather Center. Lightning's a huge concern here.
Lightning and gusty winds up to about 30 miles per hour. This would look like about 25 minutes ago in Fort Collins. The rain coming in, a lot of lightning. As a matter of fact, on radar, we've picked up over 500 cloud-to-ground lightning strikes in the Fort Collins area up toward Wellington and all the way up to Cheyenne. Now, most of the rain missed the fire area, but the outflow from these storms has created some very gusty and erratic winds in the vicinity of the High Park fire. Scattered, very light storms still trying to get going down across the mountains just to the west, all the way along I-25, even west of Colorado Springs, where they did have a few of those storms developing late this afternoon. The biggest one is to the north of us right now. That will lift up into Wyoming in the next hour or so. Tomorrow, much like today, we have the red flag warnings in effect for the 10 major fire areas across the state. No red flag warnings tomorrow across the southwest, but every place else is under the gun for more very hot temperatures, erratic winds, and the possibility of isolated late-day thunderstorms. We'll take a look at any prospects for some meaningful moisture this week, and if we'll set a record for 100-degree days coming up in a few minutes.
The fire alert continues in Estes Park tonight. Their home's gone in minutes as this fire consumed 24 buildings. 22 of them are homes. The fire burned over 27 acres in Woodland Heights. It's expected to be contained fully tonight. Tonight, the residents talked to reporter Amanda Cost about those terrifying moments.
My home was lost.
One of the first to go, her brother, a firefighter.
He had to stand there and watch it burn and still continue to fight for everyone else's homes.
The fast-moving fire charring 20 acres, destruction, then help. In the air, resources from the High Park wildfire.
They could have never been here that quick with all the equipment had it not been for that fire. I mean, that's the only reason we got put out as fast as we did.
Sparing homes.
You talk about thanking God. Neighbor's house, the house in front of me, gone. It looks like a war zone.
Angela Wellborn's running on fumes. She spent the night uncertain.
We all thought it was gone. They even told us it was gone. And then the house is sticking straight up. Everything around it's burnt.
Surrounded by destruction, unable to go home.
Estes Park is a small community, and we're very close.
Close calls or no place to call home. This community ensuring no one is alone.
Even just hugs and love and things like that. It's really been incredible. I don't have anything but feel pretty rich from from all the love and everything that I feel.
Amanda.
That was Amanda Cost reporting. We want to give you a closer look at the 3 big fires still growing tonight in Colorado. The first, obviously, is the High Park fire burning in Larimer County, northwest of Fort Collins. This fire has grown to 83,205 acres, making it the second largest ever in Colorado. Containment at this point stands at 45%. You might remember last Friday morning, containment was 60%. And the High Park fire is the most destructive in state history. 248 homes have now burned. Now, 30 minutes ago, officials confirmed that 3,600 acres have burned. To this point, they say there is zero containment as of tonight. About 6,000 people evacuated, down from 11,000 this afternoon. And that, of course, is the fire down near Colorado Springs. The third major fire burning tonight, called the Weber Fire, south of the town of Mancos. That fire growing, already burning at least 7,000 acres. And like the Waldo Canyon fire, there is zero containment on the Weber fire. The 110 homes have been evacuated there, with more than 300 on standby to possibly evacuate. We're not done with our coverage of the Colorado wildfires. Next, we're back live on the Waldo fire, how the aerial assault is helping firefighters, plus hundreds of homes evacuated by the fire. We learn what homeowners in that area stand to lose. Also tonight, history is made in Egypt, the first person ever to be elected president, and relief at the pump, how much gas prices are finally starting to drop.
One of the biggest fights tonight west of Colorado Springs. Take a look at these flames caught by Air Tracker 7 this afternoon. This is the 3,600-acre Waldo Canyon fire. Firefighters still struggling to get this fire contained. In fact, it's at 0 containment right now. I am live at the command center. I'm at Coronado High School in Colorado Springs, and there's a lot of activity going on here tonight. We know of at least 450 firefighters who are working this fire right now with the help of 8 planes, 2 helicopters. Tomorrow, the Department of Defense is actually stepping up and sending in 4 specially equipped C-130s to help fight this fire. Lawmakers approving that plan when the Waldo Canyon fire flared up last night. And these planes won't just be working here on the Waldo Canyon fire. They will also be helping with all of the fires. Now, thousands of homes threatened by the Waldo Canyon fire, forcing many in unincorporated El Paso County to evacuate. In fact, calls went out to about 1,600 homes, or about 3,000 residents. And while you can't place a value on what makes a home, a house a home, I should say, what homeowners in that area stand to lose is staggering.
And if you look at just the structural valuation that has been evacuated in the unincorporated area, we're sitting at about $295 million.
Yeah, the sheriff says people can help firefighters by staying off the roads, out of their way. And he says while there is no containment right now, crews are focusing on keeping the fire away from people and property. And Mike, if you think about this area, we're talking about an area nestled between Pikes Peak and Garden of the Gods.
Oh, yeah.
2 areas that should be really busy right now with summer crowds.
Right, they're hoping to get that out really quickly. Thank you very much, Ann.
Yes.
And right now, 10 fires are burning across our state. Here's a look at them all. Waldo Canyon and High Park threatening the most homes. But there are several others keeping firefighters busy tonight. Fire danger out on the eastern plains. A fire breaking out near the town of Elbert this afternoon. It grew quickly to 600 acres before firefighters finally gained control. And crews now with 100% containment of a wildfire near Deckers. The Trout Fire started this afternoon, burning about 25 acres. No structures were lost, no one hurt. The cause of that fire under investigation. The Weber Fire near the town of Mancos, now 7,000 acres. More than 100 homes in Montezuma County evacuated right now. Thousands more across the county are on standby to leave if that fire should grow. The biggest worry is if it were to jump Highway 160. And this is the State Line fire just south of Durango along the New Mexico border. This picture from the Durango Herald. At last report, it's about 350 acres. Firefighters were able to get the fire 15% contained. Only 6 homes are evacuated tonight. And a fire burning near Pagosa Springs is flaring up today. Crews focusing on the southwest area of the Little Sand Fire. They're using a heavy helicopter to keep it from crossing the Pedro River. The lightning-caused wildfire is nearly 19,600 acres, and it's 31% contained. It started 6 weeks ago.
Thunderstorms continue across northern Colorado, just to the north of Fort Collins, up to around Cheyenne, Wyoming. These will continue to move north with frequent lightning and brief heavy rain. The rain primarily missed the High Park fire area. Denver, for the 3rd straight day, record high temperatures getting into the triple digits, and more triple-digit temperatures are likely for the next 3 days. 102 today, way above the average, eclipsing the old mark of 100. Right now, still in the mid-80s at this hour. It's going to be a hot day here for tomorrow. Ironically, heavy rain, 15 to 20 inches of it from Tropical Storm Debbie over the southeast. We could use 1 of those inches. Overnight tonight, very mild, 60s and 70s on the plains, 40s and 50s in the mountains. Very hot conditions again tomorrow with triple digits over most of eastern Colorado. 70s to 90s expected in the mountains. The Front Range numbers tomorrow right up around 100 degrees. Fort Collins, Greeley, Brighton. 88 up at Estes Park, so it'll be in the 90s around the High Park fire area. Temperatures will be in the 90s to near 100 down to the south around Colorado Springs. Storms ending to the north tonight. Warm with smoke and haze and 65 degrees. Tomorrow, a new record again, beating the old mark of 100 set in 1991. There may be a few storms late in the day. And looking ahead, we have more triple digits in the forecast right through Wednesday. You see the records up there. It might not quite make records each one of those days. Even later in the week, the temperature's still in the mid to upper 90s. Mike, if we get to Wednesday, that'll be 6 consecutive days of 100 degrees or better in Denver. That has never happened in the city's history going back to when records began being kept in 1870.
A dubious record indeed.
Yes.
All right, thanks very much. It's an honor that has been decades in the making. Up next on 7 News at 10, a 7 everyday hero who truly puts the icing on the cake. And big changes today in Egypt. A major election that has many celebrating in the streets. Here's a look at some of our other top stories today. Egypt has a new president. Mohamed Morsi was named as the new leader today. It's the first time Egypt has ever elected a president. In his first televised speech to his country, he asked for peace and unity. The price for gas is dropping. Over the last 2 weeks, it has dropped 15 cents nationwide. On average, American drivers are paying $3.48 a gallon, the lowest price in Jackson, Mississippi, the highest in San Francisco. The Gulf Coast is bracing for Tropical Storm Debbie. This is a look at the storm when it hit Florida. Heavy rains across that state spawning a few tornadoes. Right now there are tropical storm warnings in Florida, Alabama, and Louisiana. Debbie is slowly moving back out into the Gulf. Back in 1957, Elvis was all shook up. Gunsmoke was playing on primetime television. And this week, 7 Everyday Hero started volunteering. As Mitch Jelliker reports, she is still going strong, sharing her tasty hobby.
Cake decorating is not my profession, but just a hobby.